So for July 7th through July 14th, we're going to be using the Moonology Manifestation Deck per the class name. These are oracle cards that have moon phase and astrological imagery in them. And to start out, I always give people an opportunity to experiment with and develop your intuition. So I'm going to show each of the cards. This is the first card. You can tune in, take some deep breaths, see if you feel, know, sense any sort of a difference between the two cards to indicate which is maybe most important for you to listen to, or if it's a combination. This is card number 2. And if you want to develop your intuition more, on Wednesday, I have my monthly psychic development class. We did last month's not that long ago, but I channeled my schedule for the month ahead and it came in to do the second Wednesday, only a couple weeks out. So that is what we are doing. Here's card number 1 again. And feel free to just share in the chat. You can write a 1 or a 2. Here's number 2. And you can also share how the information came through. During these psychic development classes, they're set up to be a Q&A. I'm going to show them one more time. So if you have any questions about your intuition or want a better understanding of my backstory or my experiences, tips, etc., great time to bring those questions. We usually have a pretty good conversation talking about a wide variety of ideas. Number 2. And then I prepare some different activities, games that allow you to, in a fun way, practice your intuition, better understand how information comes through, essentially working with me in real time, obviously in a group setting, to get out of your head, practice listening to yourself. If you want to work on that more in depth, I did recently open a consultation or mentorship. So if you want to do a 2-hour session with me where it's one-on-one working on your development for your intuition, that's on my website. Or if you want to do a 4-month mentorship, that is also available as well. Zip ties, zippers. I'm getting that it's securing, but it's not securing, because if you were to zip up a jacket, I wouldn't consider that securing, but it's about the alignment and getting it like in place. If you have a zip tie, you're holding something in place. If you have a zipper, you are keeping your jacket, your hoodie in place on you. Everything in its place. That's kind of the idea. We're trying to create some sort of a baseline condition. If we can hold different elements down, then as things change and weave between them, so what I'm seeing is it's like different objects or statues or things have been placed on like a board. And then I'm seeing the air moving through it. So the things that are variable, the circumstances that pop up, if we can just secure a few components of our lives or our values or our mindset or our health or like whatever it is, it could be different life areas, it could be specific situations or relationships. If we can just kind of have those in a place where they can be secured, it's not exactly hunkering down, but they can just be stabilized a little bit to brace because of the change and shifts that are happening and what is moving through. Then what? It helps us with better understanding ourselves and more of what we want. And it becomes a situation of like expectations versus reality. So when we understand what we want, we are setting an expectation of what we hope to have happen. And so I'm getting that it's giving us this parallel. So when we have a baseline, it's like when you have a baseline temperature, then you know what's a high temperature, what's a low temperature. We're doing that, but for what it is that we want or what is supportive. days, weeks, months progress, as we're better understanding ourselves, we can pick other areas and we're able to, it takes a little bit more effort, but we can lock down, another area. It's just we can do more right now before things really start shifting. And then as the wind subsides and things are calmed down, some of the pieces are knocked over because they never got secured, but that was fine. Or there's even some that did get secured, but they got, chipped and rattled by debris. So we're still reassessing even what we chose to secure, like what we wanted to stabilize. I want to have a better understanding of the timeline here because this feels like this is very ongoing. And if the purpose of this week is just picking the few areas that we want to focus on and like get those locked in right now and just mentally preparing, basically, yes. Okay. Not that this is a warning, but it's allowing us to be prepared. That's how it's being framed. How cute. First quarter moon in Sagittarius. Believe in your good luck. I think what's nice about this is in the conversation around our expectations versus reality. It's like, what do we want? So when we're having our hopes set high, not in the sense that we'll be disappointed, but it's about dreaming and believing that we can achieve that we can have it, that we can expand. Reminder on the astrological side. So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which just about a month ago from today changed signs and went into Cancer. So we are in a transition process of reacclimating to where is it that we're trying to grow and receive luck. If you happen to miss that, you can go back on my YouTube channel and hear me talk about that transit. But separately, what I was just thinking about is the recent astrology. So we had Neptune retrograde, which started on Friday, July 4th. And that has to do with your dreams and it has to do with your sense of reality, which is, I know it's not related as rulership, but it's what my mind was being nudged to, that we're kind of intersecting with that. When we have a retrograde in this planet talking about reality and our perceptions and are we being honest with ourselves or being honest with others, it seems like we're having a little bit of that at play here. So it's not believing in good luck to the point of delusion. We don't want that. That is the lower vibrational side of Neptune. The air moving through is like the winds of change. I mentioned at the top of this class that this morning we had Uranus entering Gemini, which is an air sign, and Uranus does represent revolution, upheaval, surprises, like sudden change. So it does seem like we have a mix going on here that is playing off of some of this recent astrology, but what's coming through is that, but the Jupiter piece, so Jupiter entering Cancer, so it's been in Cancer for around a month, is is indicative of where we're securing things. So if Cancer sometimes can represent home, ancestry, roots, us securing these pieces down that we've decided are the most important to us, that are the essentials. That is the act of Jupiter kind of weathering in this storm of all of those things that I just mentioned, those changes and those shifts that could make us question. And that's the piece that we're holding on to. That Jupiter in Cancer is the selection process of saying, okay, these are the things that I want. These are the things that are bringing me hope, that are helping me ground into my roots and whatever area of life it is that we're talking about. We're reflecting a little bit now, we're preparing a little bit now, and we're understanding the work that we'll need to do later based on this moment and what we are dealing with this week. This one looks like a big fluffy cloud floating by, but then it suddenly has a leash on it and it's being pulled back. It's being restrained. And who's pulling it? It's funny. It looks like it's a dog. So like a dog is supposed to be leashed, but the dog has the leash and it's pulling a cloud. What is this? Our sense of ease and ability to relax, being corralled in, it's showing that there's a detachment. It's like when you have your head in the clouds. There we go. And so the reeling in is like, hello, pay attention to this. This thing is happening. This is important. Sometimes it feels nice, or sometimes we need it, the break, to be blissfully ignorant, not aware of what's going on. But sometimes we have to be brought back to reality. So different realizations, different pieces of information coming to us, different people speaking up and stepping forward, different roadblocks we're running into, a series of a few circumstances presenting that we have to turn the corner. The harsh reality, come back to disillusionment, come back to greater understanding. We're going through a full story arc this week, but we're not at an ending. We're at like the end of a chapter, but we're not at the end of the book this week. So it's meant to continue, but this is like a cliffhanger kind of. How fitting. New moon in Gemini, think it through. So, new moons are all about beginnings. Gemini is a communicator. There's also duality in understanding, like thinking through, understanding all aspects, all sides, being the contrarian, wanting to get all the details, wanting to research, even, sometimes that's a little bit of a gossip. But I think what's funny, of course, is the first concept that came through was like having your head in the clouds. So now we're shifting into, okay, we have to actually understand. And there are a few signs in the zodiac that have this type of an energy, but Gemini is one of them. Like, I really want to know. Like, I want to understand this. I want to wrap my head around it. So we're shifting into this energy, and this is a new start for us because we are turning the corner. So I think that does align super, super well. We have to get the information now. We have to understand it now. We have to start processing it. And then it's the ... that we have with this new information. We're getting prepared for, this new beginning, and what we want to manifest next, and what comes next will be next week and beyond. But this is our new starting point. This doesn't feel like this is a transition week per se, but we're being set up. We're being set up for the next thing that we're doing. So I guess before I analyze these a little bit more, first reading we had the zip tie, zipper, securing items in place. So I was seeing different pieces, figures, statues, something on a board. We're choosing the areas of our life. It can be our values, it can be relationships, it can be our health, different components of our lives that we want to secure, we want to lock down. These could be the most important, the most fundamental. We're securing them so that they can be stabilized as best as possible. We're just picking a few of them because we can't secure everything, especially because the winds of change are coming. So we're picking the few areas. I'm really seeing that it's up to 3 So we're picking a few areas, securing those. Winds of change start coming through. Winds of change start coming through. And weeks, months progress, and we're able to assess, okay, now these pieces are here. What's still standing? Did anything that I secured get chipped? Is that really offering me the support that I need? So we're doing a bit of an assessment right now, evaluation right now, and then we're knowing that we're going to have to assess what we chose, what we didn't choose, because there could be pieces that we don't secure that stay standing. And we can say, oh, well, that's really interesting. So it's a process of learning about ourselves in kind of a different way than maybe we are used to. Let me check if I'm missing anything before flipping over. Nope, that was it. And our card for the first reading is the first quarter moon in Sagittarius. Believe in your good luck. And here we're picking on this idea of expectations versus reality. When we're believing in our good luck, so it's our beliefs, it's our perceptions. We believe certain things are the most important, that are meant to be secured. So that's one angle. We are having our certain beliefs, our values, what is most important, and grounding ourselves by securing those fundamentals when we are faced with change, which could try to sway us and have us questioning what we think is true or not true. And astrologically, what was coming through here is Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. We want to think about how Jupiter in early June entered Cancer, starting a year-long chapter in this sign. And what we are securing, that's like Jupiter in Cancer, is the things that we chose to secure, the things that are maybe emotionally attached to us, most fundamental, make us feel like we're safe and we're at home. That also could give suggestions if you aren't quite sure what you want to lock down, deciding what is most important. That gives you some sense of direction. And then these other transits that are happening, such as ones that have happened within this past week, including one that just happened this morning, which is launching us into this week ahead. Neptune retrograde, that is picking up on our beliefs and reflecting on them, our sense of reality. And then Uranus in Gemini, an air sign, it's about unexpected change and shifts, and as relates to communication and how we're all getting along in technology and all this other stuff. So change ongoing, change upcoming. How do we navigate? Preparing, locking down what's most important, knowing that not everything is going to stay secure, and saying, well, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for what is most important? And what's my sense of optimism through this entire process? How can I try to find a bright spot in all of this? And one way we can do that is by locking these really fundamental pieces of our life or sense of self down. And when we can stay connected to those roots, Cancer, then it allows us to navigate through the storm, if you will. Next, we have new moon in Gemini, think it through. The idea for this card is that I was getting an image of a cloud floating, happy, peaceful, at ease, and it was being leashed by a dog and being reeled in. So we are being challenged this week with a new beginning to turn a corner by stepping out of blissful ignorance. We have to start paying attention again. We have to experience and face over the course of this week some realizations cropping up, some challenges cropping up, conversations happening. It's like a series of small little issues or thought points that we have to break down for ourselves. And as we turn this corner, we are preparing by the end of the week to maybe feel a little bit disillusioned about what has been presented to us. But we have to, like Gemini, understand all sides of it, process it, allow ourselves to process, give ourselves the space to do that, knowing that as we go into next week and beyond, this is just one chapter and the story will continue. There's something on the other side, not to be known exactly this week, but for now, we're just understanding what's coming towards us. We're starting to get back into that researcher mode of seeking out information, of understanding everything more deeply, not having our head in the clouds, buried in the sand. The standout, obviously, is these are sister signs. So we have Sagittarius and Gemini. When you look at the circle of the wheel, they are opposite each other. Whenever you have sister signs, they have some traits in common and some traits totally in opposition to one another. So they can be supportive in helping each other grow. As an example, if you have a certain rising sign and you meet someone or are related to someone who has a sister sign, rising sign, then in some ways you are helping each other to really have accelerated growth. You're on a similar path, but in some ways on the opposite path. So you can really learn a lot from each other. So it's not always like, oh, they're enemies. They're not. They're working together, but they just have different approaches. Sagittarius wants to understand. It wants information. It wants to learn because it's ruled by Jupiter, which connects to wisdom. The difference is that it wants to act on it. It wants to go out. It wants to do something. Fire sign. And as relates to our first reading, we're zip tying everything. We're putting it in its place. We're taking action and saying, I'm going to secure these aspects of my life and I'm going to lock them down so that I can prepare to reflect and gain wisdom now and later. So that checks out. And then we have for Gemini wants the information and it could want to think about it, could want to teach about it, talk about it, exchange the information, but it's not necessarily going to apply it. It's not going to take action in the same way because Gemini is an air sign. So it's more on the relationship side. It wants to exchange the information. So that's why I think it's interesting in that reading because we had the cloud, which was the blissful ignorance. So it means it was separate from the information sources. And then this dog is reeling it in. So obviously there's a relationship between the dog, whatever the dog's representing, the dog and the cloud. So we're being presented with a relationship. We're also being presented with the cloud being, I know it's water, but it's but it's floating. So we have a bit of that imagery reflected as well, and that it has to be grounded. It has to then come down to earth where the dog is and have the deepened understanding, the in-depth research and exploration. So when we have this information, we can ... That's next week and beyond. New moons are the beginning, and the first quarter is right after that. So these would be, exact opposites if one of these was a full moon or one of these was a last quarter, as an example. But they're still both beginning-ish energy. This one is about reflecting, which is why it is also incredibly perfect for this first reading, because any first quarter or last quarter is embedded with reflection. And that's what kept coming up throughout this reading is we have to prepare for reflecting later. We have to reflect right now to assess like what is bringing us fortune, grounding, support. What are our beliefs right now? That's very Sagittarius and very first quarter. Because we know things are coming and that evolution of what is coming has to do with going towards that full moon energy. And then with the new moon, we're turning the corner. We're saying, okay, well, the new chapter is beginning for us this week. And we're getting the exposition. That's how it kind of feels. So can we do both of these at the same time? I'm getting no reason not to. Yeah, even just kind of logically looking at it, no reason not to. Why not? Because you could be securing, you could be taking inventory of your life, saying what's the most important. I want to lock those things down. I want to revisit my values. I want to revisit my priorities. my beliefs, my understanding of reality, and separately but related, if our head's in the clouds, it could be indicative of whatever disconnect from reality or disconnect from what is most important. So we could be doing this assessment work. And then as things pop up this week, which is what happens with this reading, is there's a few things that pop up. It's getting us to think about things differently. It seems like these could very easily be interchanged. You could move from one into the other. So then, by the end of the week, we're feeling a little bit disillusioned, but we have to remember, hey, go back to what you locked down, what you secured. This is your home base. These are the components of your life that you can use to ground, that you can come back to maintain your optimism, to combat the disillusionment. So these feel very, very intertwined. Move from one into the other. You could do both of them simultaneously. These do not feel restricted in that way. So it's however it presents for you. Could be different life areas, could be the same exact life area. But broadly, these are kind of big picture. They don't feel limited to, oh, so you're just talking about your career. You're securing a bunch of pieces, which could be your career, could be your health, could be your relationships. So this is touching holistically your life. So it's not limited. And then same thing here. How you think, how you receive information, how you discuss with other people impacts everything. It's like your education, what your education is, your information sources changes how you talk to people, how you decide to value, let's say, an aspect of your health, or the types of relationships that you have, your communication, etc. It ripples. So these both feel that they cover multiple areas of life, and they could work in tandem within one, and also cross-functionally, if you will, between both of these readings.